Kurtop here, and these are 100 ancient discoveries that may be evidence of a UFO. Discovery of the oldest nuclear reactor in the world. It's funny, but the first human reactor that produces electricity was created only in 1951. But a stone block in Oklo in Gabon already created nuclear energy 2 billion years ago. The history of the discovery began in 1972 when French scientists took a sample of uranium ore from a deposit in Gabon to test its uranium composition. And here scientists have come across a surprising discovery. The uranium sample contained less uranium-235 than usual. This meant that about 200 kilograms of uranium-235 disappeared somewhere in the mine. As it turned out, the missing uranium went through the process of nuclear fission and split into other atoms. It turns out that nature accidentally created a nuclear reactor operating under very specific conditions necessary for the continuous release of energy. And it really happened. First, there was enough uranium-235 in the ore to keep the reaction going. Second, uranium-235 naturally decays, releasing a neutron that initiates the fission process. And finally, there was enough underground water at the site of the reactor which slowed down the neutrons and regulated the reaction. Mummy Tashfinat. This is the oldest mummy in Africa. In Libya, at the archaeological site of Mount Ohhigh, archaeologists have discovered unique mummies. After a lot of research, scientists said that the mummies are 5,600 years old. Their uniqueness lies in the fact that their age is older than all previously found in neighboring Egypt. The discovery was made by Professor Fabrizio Mori in 1958. The mummy of a 3-year-old child was found in the fetal position. The embalmed body was carefully wrapped in leaves and covered with an antelope skin. Instead of internal organs, there were some herbs in the body. Scientists are still studying the mixture of herbs to understand how the body was able to survive for almost 6,000 years. After the discovery of this mummy, archaeologists are sure that the first mummies on the mainland did not appear in Egypt. The Egyptians used mummification techniques borrowed from other peoples. Stash in the lost city of myths. It's nice when the ancient city of myths turns out to be a reality and really hides treasures. One of these cities was found by archaeologists in Greece and is called Shadows. Historians had information about this city only on the basis of myths. But if you believe the ancient Greek myths, then the Minotaur must be somewhere as well. Therefore, scientists were skeptical about the ancient Greek texts. During the excavations of the City of Shadows, researchers found several ancient caches with coins, and this no longer looks like a myth because the coins are real. An accidental discovery was made by local residents in 1984 when, while digging a well, they stumbled upon an ancient sarcophagus. While specialists in the study of official history arrived here, marauders had long known about this place, and partly the ancient city had already been plundered. Either the marauders were not persistent, or the loot was enough for them. The archaeologists still had enough material to further study the city. They found a large public building from the Roman period with complex stonework. During the study of this building, archaeologists found a cache with 18 silver and copper coins, and nearby in another cache there were 2,100 different coins. Their approximate age is 6th century AD. Near the city necropolis, a team of researchers unearthed a Roman burial with an underground burial chamber. Inside it, archaeologists found a 1st century BC coin minted in Corinth, a bronze coin from Athens of the classical period, a lamp depicting the god Ares, a glass incense burner, an urn, a bowl, and a lamp, and a child who was buried in the tomb. The most recent mention of the City of Shadows was in an ancient text by the geographer of the 2nd century AD, Pausanias. He believed that the city was built by Trojan prisoners of war around 1100 BC. If there is a real story in the myths of ancient Greece, what about the sagas of the ancient Vikings? Keep watching. Maya and extraterrestrial civilizations. How to explain the presence of artifacts depicting spaceships, a calendar that is valid to this day, and absolutely smooth crystal skulls, and all this in a civilization about which official history says otherwise. The secret may be in extraterrestrial visitors. Yes, you heard me right. One of the Mayan gods, Kukulkan, whom the Aztecs knew as Quetzalcoatl, could supposedly be an alien from another planet. He taught the Maya such complex sciences as agriculture, mathematics, medicine, and astronomy. and the Maya knew about the planets, which were discovered only a few centuries later. In the 30s of the last century in Guatemala, scientists discovered a sandstone head, which is now impossible to study since it was used as a target during military operations. But it brings even more intrigue to our story, as its facial features are not at all like the Maya and other peoples in that area. But did you know that many of the Mayan books burned, according to legend, actually ended up in the Vatican? It was they who were used to create the Gregorian calendar, which is currently used throughout the world. All these facts only confirm that the Maya could communicate with an extraterrestrial civilization. 70,000-year-old bracelet. Scientists believe that this bracelet, 70,000 years old, was created by the Denisans, an ancient species of hominids, close but different from Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. If this is confirmed, the date of creation of the bracelet will have to be pushed back 30,000 years. The bracelet was discovered in Siberia, and perhaps it will change our understanding of the development of ancient man. It is already forcing scientists to reconsider known levels of technology. For example, a bracelet has a hole made by drilling and sawing. Roswell discabl. The Roswell disc is a mystical artifact rumored to have been found near Roswell, New Mexico after the famous 1947 UFO incident. According to some reports, the disc was part of the wreckage of an unidentified flying object. The disc was a round metal plate with a diameter of about 3 meters, with unusual symbols and markings on the surface that could not be attributed to any known terrestrial language. The material from which the disc was made turned out to be unidentified and had strange properties. Some sources claim that the disc was given into military hands and studied in secret laboratories. Those who have been able to see it have spoken of its potential connection to extraterrestrial technology and the ability to store information superior to all earthly counterparts. Over time, the Roswell disc has become a symbol of conspiracy theories and mysteries related to UFOs. Its existence is still disputed and is the subject of debate among scientists and researchers of the paranormal. The disc has become a legend in UFO circles, and many believe it is kept in secret government archives, along with other artifacts that point to extraterrestrial interference in the affairs of mankind. Roswell discabl. The Roswell disc is a mystical artifact rumored to have been found near Roswell, New Mexico after the famous 1947 UFO incident. According to some reports, the disc was part of the wreckage of an unidentified flying object. The disc was a round metal plate with a diameter of about 3 meters, with unusual symbols and markings on the surface that could not be attributed to any known terrestrial language. The material from which the disc was made turned out to be unidentified and had strange properties. Some sources claim that the disc was given into military hands and studied in secret laboratories. Those who have been able to see it have spoken of its potential connection to extraterrestrial technology and the ability to store information superior to all earthly counterparts. Over time, the Roswell disc has become a symbol of conspiracy theories and mysteries related to UFOs. Its existence is still disputed and is the subject of debate among scientists and researchers of the paranormal. The disc has become a legend in UFO circles, and many believe it is kept in secret government archives, along with other artifacts that point to extraterrestrial interference in the affairs of mankind. Burial with headless skeletons. At the archaeological site of Resemble, Velké Lahimby in Slovakia, archaeologists have discovered a terrible find. 38 people were buried in one grave, but they were all without a head. The approximate age of the burial is 5000 BC. This site appears to have been the largest early Neolithic settlement in Central Europe. In addition to the burial, the researchers identified 313 houses, 80 of which were inhabited by people at the same time. They formally divided all the buildings into 3 villages. Scientists claim that about 600 people lived in this settlement. One of the villages was surrounded by double ditches, almost 1.5 kilometers long. In this moat, archaeologists found the remains of 38 people, including a child. The bones of the buried were mixed with each other, so archaeologists had to spend a lot of time to separate 38 characters from a huge pile of bones. Interestingly, archaeologists have already found decapitated skeletons in the Vrabel area, and then they concluded that there was a sacred meaning in such a burial. However, that burial was different from the new one. In the previous case, a separate grave was dug for each person, and in our case, the bodies of 38 people were thrown into one pit and lay at random. But a logical question arises. Where are the heads? In some skeletons, the first cervical vertebra was found, which means it was not an execution and a sacrifice. The heads were removed systematically and neatly, if one can say so about a human head. And what about the story of the Netherlands, which rests underwater? Mysterious mask. A strange iridium artifact found in Florida challenges traditional ideas about ancient civilizations. According to researchers, this object is 12,000 years old and is made of iridium, a metal that is extremely rare on Earth and most often found in meteorites. The artifact is striking in its delicacy and skillful processing, which suggests that the ancient craftsmen had technologies that were significantly ahead of their time. An image is engraved on the surface of the object, reminiscent of the deity Viracocha, known in the Inca culture as the creator of all things. According to legend, Viracocha came from Lake Titicaca, bringing light and knowledge. This image may be evidence of a connection between ancient peoples and an extraterrestrial civilization, which would explain the use of rare meteorite material to create this artifact. Historians believe that this object was stolen by Spanish conquistadors in 1715 and taken away on the ship La Concepcion. The ship sank in a storm, leaving much of its cargo, including other artifacts, on the ocean floor. The mask washed up on the beach and is believed by experts to be just a small part of the $5 billion lost treasure. Spells from the Book of the Dead. Perhaps I will start my story about the first find from the archaeological cradle, from the place with which archaeology is associated with each of you, Egypt. Saqqara is a gigantic necropolis of the ancient Egyptian capital of Memphis. The last time unusual papyruses were found here was more than 100 years ago, and today archaeologists are incredibly lucky. They found a 16-meter ancient papyrus with spells from the Book of the Dead. As soon as archaeologists found it, they decided that it was 9 meters long, and after restoration and cleaning, they realized that its length was 16 meters. Experts from the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir were engaged in its restoration, where it received its name Vaziri Papyrus. The uniqueness of this find also lies in the fact that this is the first papyrus that was discovered by an Egyptian and named after an Egyptian. It sounds rather strange, but who then discovered all the finds in Egypt and was engaged in excavations. For many years, excavations in Egypt have been carried out by archaeologists from all over the world, especially researchers from Great Britain whose colony was Egypt. They promised to show the papyrus at the opening of the Great Egyptian Museum. At the moment, experts are translating it from hierarchical into hieroglyphic and Arabic so that every person in the modern world has the opportunity to read spells from the Book of the Dead. The only question is, do we need to read these ancient spells? Write in the comments what you think about this. The Book of the Dead is a funerary text from ancient Egypt containing declarations and spells to aid the dead in their afterlife. The book consists of funerary texts and is dated to 50 BC. The discovery of this mysterious papyrus with spells from the Book of the Dead will shed light on the beliefs of the ancient Egyptians and the transition to the realm of the dead. Indonesian Star Trek. In 1992, geologist Castillo made a discovery that still shocks today. In the province of Kapanga, Indonesia, he was exploring the Satan's Cave in the mountains and found an unusual stone. On its chip were engraved mysterious symbols that resembled a map of the Star Trek. The signs on the stone are strikingly similar to the images on the plaques sent into space by NASA with the Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11 probes in the 1970s. The stone depicts a man and a woman holding hands, as well as the sun, stars, and lines resembling routes. Geologists claim that the age of the stone's processing is hundreds of thousands of years. This casts doubt on its terrestrial origin because at that time people, as is assumed, could not have had such knowledge. Conspiracy theorists suggest that aliens received a message from the Pioneer probe but miscalculated and missed the time, ending up on Earth hundreds of thousands of years ago. Perhaps they got stuck here and left their mark in the form of this stone. Another version says that the stone could have been created by a highly developed civilization that existed in Indonesia long before our era. The map depicts a star system with 1 star and 7 planets, an almost exact reproduction of the solar system. Modern scientists recognize 8 planets, but until recently, Neptune was considered an asteroid. Whoever the creators of the mysterious stone were, their knowledge of the stars remains a mystery, astonishing modern science. Baigu stone pipes. In a remote area of China at the foot of Mount Baigu, amazing underground pipes made of stone have been discovered. These ancient structures, over 5,000 years old, are amazing in their complexity and precision. Excavations have shown that the pipes go deep underground and have a variety of sizes, from small with a diameter of several centimeters to huge, more than a meter in diameter. The technology used to create these pipes remains a mystery to modern scientists. How were ancient civilizations able to carve and install such complex structures? Their origin and purpose remain unknown, giving rise to many hypotheses and speculations. Researchers speculate that these pipes could be part of an ancient water supply or ventilation system. However, there is a more intriguing theory. Perhaps the Baigu stone chimneys are evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. The precision and scale of construction raises the possibility of ancient technology that we do not yet understand. It is interesting that similar artifacts are known from other places around the world. For example, on the Colorado Plateau, the pipes here also have a diameter from 50 centimeters to 1 centimeter. Archaeologists discovered that the inside of these pipes was covered with an iron-containing crust. Something similar was discovered in Louisiana, USA. In this case, the diameters reach 70 centimeters. Satellite data. Modern satellite images available through various internet platforms, such as Google Earth, show possible entrances to underground bases in Antarctica. One such example is images showing strange holes in the ice sheet that resemble man-made structures. Satellite images have also been discovered on South Georgia Island, which some researchers believe indicate a possible UFO crash. One such image was found on Google Earth and shows what appears to be a crashed spaceship. The image aroused interest among ufologists and internet researchers who suggested that it could be debris of alien origin. Some of these objects have unusual shapes and sizes that are difficult to explain by natural processes. The alleged UFO on South Georgia Island has often been compared to the interstellar object Oumuamua, which came to the attention of scientists in 2017. Oumuamua, discovered as the first known interstellar object to pass through the solar system, has an unusual shape and trajectory that does not match the characteristics of ordinary asteroids or comets. This has led to speculation that it could be an alien probe or spacecraft. Giant sword in Japan. Japan is famous for its history and especially the history of ancient swords, which were unusually large. In Tomio Maruyama burial mound, archaeologists found an iron sword dako 2.3 meters long. The dako blade got its name from its wavy, serpentine shape. Japanese archaeologists often found such swords in burial graves, and there are already more than 80 such finds. But this sword has its own uniqueness. It is the longest of all that has been preserved in its entirety. It was impossible to use such swords in battle, especially considering the average height of the Japanese. Most likely, the sword was really used only as a variety of ceremonies. The mirror and shields were used as a tool to protect the dead from evil spirits, and a giant sword could enhance such protection. In addition to the sword, a bronze mirror in the shape of a shield was found in the burial, although such mirrors were usually round in shape. Its dimensions were 64 by 31 centimeters, and its weight was almost 6 kilograms. Archaeologists have not yet noticed signs of looting, so they hope they can figure out who is in the closed coffin and who owns the grave goods. The approximate age of the burial is 710 AD. 250 fossilized titanosaur eggs. China is not the only place where large stocks of ancient dinosaur eggs have been preserved. This time we were pleased by archaeologists from the Indian Institute for Science Education Research and paleontologists from the University of Delhi. In the central and western parts of the country, 256 fossilized eggs of ancient lizards were discovered. In total, researchers have found more than 90 nesting sites of ancient reptiles, titanosaurs that lived in India 67 million years ago. Paleontologists noticed that most of the eggs were in one place and were pressed against each other. It looks like more than 60 million years ago, a female titanosaur left her pets here and never returned to this place. All eggs belong to the same species of dinosaur, however, in the nests. Their number was different. They also differed in size. This finding of eggs tells us that their population was much larger than previously thought, and they nested in colonies. Titanosaurs ate plants. Giant reptiles lived on the territory of modern Asia, Africa, Europe, and South America during the Upper Cretaceous. It is difficult to imagine that these giants had a body length of up to 9, 12 meters and a weight of up to 13 tons, which by the standards of modern animals is a lot. Bas-reliefs of Nuhiva. On the island of Nuhiva, part of the Marquesas Islands archipelago in French Polynesia, archaeologists are amazed by mysterious statues. The bas-reliefs and sculptures depict strange creatures reminiscent of gray aliens. Their bodies are human and their heads are like reptiles, with huge round eyes and low-set mouths. Who created these statues and why is unknown. The modern natives of the island know nothing about the origin of the sculptures and believe that they depict the ancient god Ono, who, according to their beliefs, created the world. When Europeans discovered the island in the 16th century, it was inhabited by savage gatherers famous for their cannibalism. However, the connection between the current inhabitants and those who created the mysterious statues has been lost. Archaeologists assume that these sculptures are at least 150,000 years old. Some believe that they depict priests in ritual masks, but these masks look too unusual to be simply part of Earth culture. Conspiracy theorists are convinced that Nuhiva was once home to an alien colony. They believe that the statues depict human-alien hybrids and that the sculptures themselves are the result of ancient experiments. Ancient whale skull. The Goddard family wanted to find a couple of ancient shark teeth. It is a common practice in the United States when amateur paleontologists find fragments of the remains of ancient fish and animals on the shore. They did not find shark teeth, but they found something more outstanding and larger, a real whale skull, which is 12 million years old. And its dimensions are so gigantic that it took 2 months to dig it out. For you to understand, with a skull length of 1.5 meters, its weight was 295 kilograms. Specialists from the Museum of Paleontology congratulated Cody Goddard and his wife on such a find. They said that such a discovery is like winning the Paleontology World Cup. It is preliminarily believed that this is an ancient Miocene baleen whale, but we will find out the exact answer later when real paleontologists, and not amateurs, carefully study it. At the moment, this is the best preserved whale skull of all that was found in the Calvert Cliffs area. The baleen whale, or as it is also called, the Cetotherium, could swim very quickly, and rightly so, because the megalodon swam nearby. And in order not to fall into the mouth of this predator, the whale needed to move in the ocean as quickly as possible. Further thorough cleaning of the skull before it is shown in the museum may take several more months. The mystery of the Allora caves. In India, in the state of Maharashtra, there is an amazing complex of caves, the Allora caves. This architectural masterpiece, comprising 34 caves, is carved directly into the rock and is a unique combination of Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain temples. The age of the structures dates back to the period between the 6th and 10th centuries AD. The Allora caves are amazing in their precision and complexity. Some of them are enormous in size and have exquisite details, carved with amazing precision. Particularly impressive is the Kailasa Temple, carved from a single mass of stone, which is considered the largest monolithic structure in the world. The technology and methods used to create such complex and precise structures still remain a mystery. This gave rise to many theories, including speculation about extraterrestrial intervention. Some researchers believe that the ancient builders may have had knowledge and technology passed on by alien civilizations. This unique complex remains one of the most intriguing archaeological finds, offering more questions than answers. Asteroid influence and contact with the gods. The asteroid, believed to have wiped out the dinosaurs some 66 million years ago, has left a significant mark on the Yucatan Peninsula. This impact created the Chicxulub crater, which is still an important geological feature. Although this cataclysm occurred long before the emergence of the Mayan civilization, its long-term geological and environmental consequences may have influenced the formation of the region in which the culture later developed. Archaeological finds, such as cities and buildings destroyed and buried under a layer of sediment, may indirectly confirm the theory of cataclysms that occurred in Yucatan. However, there is no direct evidence that the Mayans knew about the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs or had any information about them. The idea that the Mayans may have had contact with dinosaurs is scientifically unfounded. Dinosaurs went extinct long before the first humans appeared, not to mention the Mayan civilization. However, in mythology and their art, one can find depictions of creatures that can be interpreted as legendary or mythical animals, but this is not evidence of their actual contact with dinosaurs. Researchers sometimes find dinosaur fossils in Mesoamerica, but these findings date back to a time before human history. Such finds may be of interest to geologists and paleontologists, but they do not support the theory of Mayan contact with dinosaurs. Knowledge of ancient cataclysms may have been integrated into their mythology and beliefs, linking natural phenomena to the actions of the gods. The Mayans believed in cyclical time and recurring catastrophes, which may have been a reflection of their understanding of the past and prediction of future events.
Sahara's Eye. This geological structure was seen by astronauts in 1965, and from there its name came. From the air, it looks like a huge eye surrounded by green circles. This is a dolerite intrusion surrounded by stunted vegetation, a rare occurrence in the desert. The astronauts even used it as a reference point because it is the most visible structure in the Sahara. In the center of the object are siliceous breccias, special varieties of sedimentary rocks. This indicates its antiquity, which scientists estimate at millions of years. The oldest ring is about 600 million years old. At first, they thought that this was the place where a meteorite fell, but this theory was not confirmed. Then, scientists suggested that Galber Rishat has a geological origin. New research shows that this structure was formed under the influence of hydrothermal waters. One of the most unique features of the Eye of the Sahara is its ability to change color throughout the day depending on heat emission. And although there is still a lot of controversy and speculation about the origin of this geological miracle, most modern scientists believe that this is the result of erosion after the uplift of a section of the Earth's crust.
The four-eyed figurine. This mysterious figurine, known as the four-eyed, was found in what is now Serbia. The age of the artifact is estimated at over 7,000 years, making it one of the oldest finds associated with the pre-literate culture of the Balkans. The figurine depicts a humanoid with four eyes, or perhaps elements resembling a mask. There is a hypothesis that these four eyes are actually part of a mask or headdress, and the figurine itself could depict not a real creature, but a mythical or divine creature revered in the society of that time. There is even a bold suggestion that it could be something resembling a spacesuit, hinting at contact with something extraterrestrial. Although this, of course, remains in the realm of fantasy. Little is known about the purpose of the figurine. Perhaps it was used in rituals or was a symbol of a protector or patron. This artifact leaves more questions than answers and continues to stir debate among archaeologists and mystery lovers. The four-eyed one is one of those rare artifacts that not only reveals fragments of the past to us, but also excites our imagination. Bas-relief of an eagle in the former capital of the Aztecs. For the first time, archaeologists discovered the eagle bas-relief in February 2020, exactly 3 years ago, and only now, having done a lot of research, they were able to determine the deep meaning of this image. The bas-relief is about 600 years old. It was found at the foot of the Templo Mayor Temple, which is located in the center of Tenochtitlan and now Mexico City. Now, archaeologists are sure that the eagle was carved during the reign of Motacuxum Ilhuicamin. About 70 similar sculptures were found in the Templo Mayor Temple, but this eagle is the largest of all. Its dimensions are 106 by 70 centimeters. It is not only its size that is striking, but also its significance indicated by its location. The golden eagle is the most important symbol in the Aztec culture, and its location in the center of the temple speaks of the importance of the bas-relief. The eagle was a sacred creature in the mind of the Aztecs, who was present at the birth of the sun, hence the blackened, scorched tips of the wings, and was a symbol of one of the elite military awards in the Aztec culture. Cave paintings of Valcamonica. In the Valcamonica Valley, located in northern Italy, there are over 200,000 cave paintings created by various cultures over the past 8,000 years.
These engravings provide unique evidence of ancient civilizations, depicting their rituals, social structure, and daily life. However, among the many traditional images of animals, dancing people, and symbols, there are several engravings that are of particular interest to researchers. Some of them look like figures dressed in strange costumes, reminiscent of spacesuits with details similar to helmets, antennas, and other devices. These drawings have given rise to much speculation. Some argue that they may have been created after contact between the ancient inhabitants of Valcamonica and alien civilizations. Such theories often rely on the appearance of these figures, arguing that ancient people may have depicted extraterrestrial beings or even astronauts they encountered. However, most scholars are inclined to believe that these engravings may represent ritual or symbolic images, perhaps associated with religious beliefs or rituals of the time. Here, scientists always have one opinion. If a find cannot be explained, it means it is connected either with something extraterrestrial or with an ancient ritual. Venus of Willendorf. In 1908, in Austria, archaeologists made a unique discovery. They discovered the Venus of Willendorf. This tiny figurine, just 11 centimeters high, depicts a curvaceous woman and is approximately 28,000 years old. It was found in the village of Willendorf and quickly became one of the most famous symbols of Paleolithic art. The Venus of Willendorf is carved from limestone and painted with red ochre. Her curvaceous figure, emphasizing her breasts, belly, and hips, symbolizes fertility and feminine beauty. The figurine's face is missing, perhaps indicating that its creators wanted to focus more on the body and its symbolic meaning. This figurine remains the subject of much research and controversy. Some scientists believe that the Venus of Willendorf could be used in rituals related to fertility. Others believe that it could be a talisman or amulet. Of course, it was not possible to associate this figure with an alien origin. Some researchers associate its unusual shape and good detail for that time with a possible similarity with the guests of their distant space. But why only one similar figurine was found is still unclear to archaeologists. Ancient Maya artifacts. Archaeologists from Mexico recently went to the mysterious Chimuel Cave. This is a dark, mysterious place where the secrets of the ancient Mayan civilization were hidden for centuries. According to legend, this cave was the entrance to the underworld where, according to the Maya, deities lived. So they often used the caves for their sacred ceremonies. Among the finds are two ancient vessels that were carefully placed in the niches of the cave. They were probably used to collect water flowing from stalactites. Such water was considered sacred. Another object, a bowl on a tripod, was found upside down and placed under stones. This indicates that it could be part of a ritual, a sacrificial offering to the gods. Saltman of Iran. This amazing find was discovered in the mid-1990s in the salt mines near Sharabad in the mountains of Iran. Archaeologists believe that these are the remains of an ancient salt mine worker who died right at his workplace about 1,500 years ago. The unique conditions of the cave, saturated with salt vapors, helped to preserve his body in an amazing condition. The mummy even has preserved his hair, which, under the influence of salt, acquired a whitish tint, as well as a beard, which adds an even more creepy look to the find. Scientists believe that the high concentration of salt in the cave prevented the decomposition process, mummifying the body naturally. The salted body looks as if time has stopped, allowing us to look at the face of the past. The Salt Man became not only an archaeological sensation, but also an important source of information about the lives of people of that era. Today, this mummy is a reminder of the harsh reality of the past and the unique interaction of man with nature. The most alive mummy in the world. This story began a little over 100 years ago. It happened in Italian Palermo in 1918. Rosalia Lombardo was born, and not having lived 1 week before her second birthday, the girl died of pneumonia. It is clear that the girl simply did not have time to become popular. Everything happened after death. The girl's father was heartbroken in connection with this. He decided to use the services of the best specialist of that time, Alfredo Salafia. The mummification specialist introduced a special composition of formalin, chlorine, alcohol, salicylic acid, glycerin, and zinc into the girl's arteries, which saved her circulatory system from decomposition. After this mummification process, the girl was placed in a small glass coffin, and to this day her body is kept in a small church in Palermo. This girl is 100 years old, but she looks like she is alive.
Everyone who saw the mummified girl does not believe that she is not sleeping. Mummification helps the body to be stored for a long time. However, due to the natural decomposition process, the healthy and fresh appearance of the deceased will in any case change. It is impossible to carry out mummification in order to completely preserve the skin tone and eye color as they were in life. As they say, the impossible is possible. Either a miracle happened in our case, or the mummification specialist really had a great talent. And that's not all. Scientists who constantly monitor the girl's body fix weak electrical impulses sent by her brain with a duration of 33 and 12 seconds. Such impulses are characteristic of a living person, although the fact of the death of a girl has been confirmed more than once. Whatever it is, but the mystery of the most living mummy in the world is forcing tourists from all over the world to come to Sicily and personally see a little girl with a yellow bow on her head who looks like she is still alive.
Dragon houses in Mount Ohhigh. The dragon houses on the island of Euboea in Greece are mysterious megalithic structures that amaze with their massiveness and precision. These ancient structures, built from huge stone blocks without the use of binding mortar, date back to around the 8th century BC. Legends associate dragon houses with the gods, particularly Zeus, and describe them as places of sacred rituals and the habitat of ancient dragons who guard these territories. Mount Ohhigh, where some of the dragon houses are located, is considered a place of contact with the gods due to its remoteness and majestic location. In ancient Greek mythology, mountains were often associated with the abodes of the gods and places of their manifestations. This mountain, towering above the surrounding landscape, could be perceived as a sacred place where divine meetings and rituals took place. Archaeologists face many difficulties when studying these megalithic structures. One of the main mysteries is how the ancient builders were able to transport and lay such huge stone blocks on the tops of the mountains. The logistics and technical aspects of their construction remain unclear, especially given the lack of modern tools and equipment. There is also no exact data on the time and purpose of the construction of these structures, which complicates their study and interpretation. According to legend, Zeus used these places for his meetings with people and other gods. The dragons mentioned in legends could be symbols of his strength and protection of sacred places. There is a theory that the dragon houses could be places of contact with aliens. Proponents of this hypothesis argue that the unusual architecture and precise geometry of these buildings indicate the possible influence of extraterrestrial civilizations. They believe that the ancient Greeks may have interpreted encounters with aliens as contacts with the gods, which was reflected in their myths and legends.
Metal door inside the rock. Since the beginning of the 21st century, numerous stories and rumors have surrounded the construction of the Baikal-Amur mainline in Russia, some of which surprisingly have a basis in reality. During active work on this railway line, workers encountered anomalies and paranormal phenomena, causing many to call the line ghost. Among the stories, a special place is occupied by stories about the ghost of the railway, a train passing by without a sound, which was witnessed by both builders and local residents. Scientists believe the origins of these stories may be linked to events in the 1940s when prisoners hijacked a steam locomotive during an uprising in an escape attempt. The Bayam tunnels were not spared from mysteries, in particular the Severo-Muisky tunnel, the construction of which took more than 25 years due to unexpected surprises that posed new challenges for the builders. The mysteries associated with these structures, including stories of a white shaman who foreshadows disasters, only enhance the aura of mysticism around the highway. At every step, builders faced new obstacles that required immediate solutions. One of the most intriguing moments was the discovery of a metal door in one of the sections of the tunnel after the breakthrough of an underground spring, which led to the death of 30 people. The door, which became a real mystery, remained an unsolved secret, as did the strange sounds coming from underground, reminiscent of knocking. Attempts to explain these phenomena range from speculation about high concentrations of radon gas, which can cause audio hallucinations, to stories of evil spirits living in the depths of the tunnel. Additional intrigue is brought by the Devil's Bridge, part of the same highway, famous for its secrets and myths. Despite all the technical and mystical difficulties, the Severo-Muisky Tunnel and the Devil's Bridge remain the most important structures of the BAM, and the stories associated with them continue to excite the minds of both specialists and travelers. Answers to many questions have not yet been found, and each new riddle only deepens the mystery of these places. Spaceship in Turkey. In Turkey, near the city of Şanlıurfa, there is one of the most mysterious archaeological sites in the world, Göbekli Tepe. This complex, which is more than 12,000 years old, consists of massive stone structures laid out in circles. Göbekli Tepe is considered the oldest known temple complex on Earth. Megaliths, up to 6 meters high and weighing several tons, amaze with their precision and craftsmanship. The stone slabs are decorated with carvings depicting animals and abstract symbols. This level of art and engineering raises many questions about how ancient people were able to create such complex structures without modern technology. Researchers suggest that the construction of Göbekli Tepe could be associated with extraterrestrial technology. These hypotheses are based on the complex's extraordinary precision and scale, which some believe could only have been achieved through advanced technology, possibly passed down by alien civilizations. Göbekli Tepe continues to attract the attention of scientists and enthusiasts from around the world, fueling interest in ancient mysteries and possible contacts with extraterrestrial beings. The clearest photograph of a UFO. On September 4, 1971, in the northern highlands of Costa Rica, photographer Sergio Loaiza was conducting aerial photography of Lake Cote for the National Geographic Institute. Using a special mapping camera that takes photos at 13-second intervals, he did his job, unaware that one of the frames would be unique. Upon returning to the laboratory, Sergio checked the photographs and noticed in one of them a mysterious round metal object located on the right side of the photograph. It is noteworthy that an object resembling a flying saucer was not detected in either the previous or subsequent frames. For some time, the National Geographic Institute tried to hide the discovery, prohibiting Sergio and his colleagues from talking about the incident. A metallic flying object with a diameter of more than 18 meters was a closely guarded secret. But in 1979, a photograph appeared in an Argentine newspaper and was analyzed by experts. Soon, Costa Rica declared the photo as official confirmation of the existence of a UFO. Despite many years of study and debate among researchers in this area, no one has been able to say what kind of object this is. Skeptics suggested that the object on the right side of the photo was some kind of debris or stain that got onto the film while working with photographs. In 2021, a family friend was able to obtain the original photo in order to scan it using modern technology. This made it possible to digitize the image, making it clearer and more detailed. This allowed skeptics to see the saucer-shaped object at a higher resolution. The updated image allowed us to discard a number of banal assumptions and theories, since this was not a stain or chip on the camera glass. So what was it? Share your guesses in the comments. Maternity hospital for aliens. In 2000, when archaeologists led by Frank Gaudieu were searching for the treasures of Napoleon's ships, they suddenly encountered something completely unexpected. They found the mysterious city of Heraklion, which disappeared under the waters of the Mediterranean Sea. Heraklion was a brilliant trading center until in the 4th century BC. Alexander the Great did not build Alexandria. The city was built in honor of the Egyptian god Ra, while the Greeks believed that it was founded in honor of the demigod Hercules. At first, it seems that there is nothing supernatural. The ruins of the city sliding into the sea, the statues of pharaohs, the ruins of temples. But while exploring an ancient temple, divers discovered bas-reliefs depicting women in luxurious clothes holding small humanoids. These babies were thin, with thin arms and legs, elongated heads, and huge almond-shaped eyes. Questions immediately arise. Women cure aliens? Or are they images of household gods? Or what if this is proof that aliens were experimenting in ancient Egypt to create human-alien hybrids? Maybe Hercules, who was considered a demigod, was actually the son of an alien from heaven and an earthly woman, a hybrid of a man and an alien? These questions remain unanswered. But one thing we know for sure, history is full of unexpected discoveries, and each of them opens up new horizons and opportunities for research. Write in the comments below the video, what do you think about this? What strange images have survived to this day? Are historians really trying to hide valuable information from us? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tiny mummy in the Atacama. 20 years ago, in an abandoned mountain town in the Atacama Desert in Chile, the mummified remains of a humanoid just 15 centimeters in size were found. When this skeleton fell into the hands of a private collector in Spain, it sparked controversy about its origins and even appeared in a documentary as possible evidence of alien life.
Scientists from California have been able to extract DNA from the bones of a mummy and reconstruct the real and tragic history of this creature, which received the name Ata. It turned out that this is not a guest from another world, but a girl who apparently was born dead or died immediately after birth, with terrifying mutations that determined her unusual physique. Despite the fact that she was only 15 centimeters long, some features of the bones indicated an age of 6 to 8 years. Instead of the usual 12 pairs of ribs, Ata had only 10. The head was elongated and cone-shaped. Professor Harry Nolan, who conducted the study, believes that Ata was stillborn or died immediately after birth. Her deformities were so severe that she could not eat. In her condition, she would have been admitted to a neonatal intensive care unit, but such devices simply were not available at the site where her remains were found. It all started as a story about aliens, but in fact it is a story about a human tragedy. A woman gave birth to a deformed child which was preserved and sold as a strange artifact. In the end, this turned out to be a person with an amazing genetic history from which we can learn a lot that will help others. Sabu Disc. This is one of the most mysterious artifacts of ancient Egypt found in the tomb of Sabu, a descendant of Pharaoh Ajib. It is at least 5,000 years old, but its true purpose remains a mystery. At first glance, it is a stone disc with 3 curved petals, but the details make one wonder. The thickness in some places reaches only 1.5 millimeters, which indicates incredible precision of manufacture. Given the level of technology of that time, many wonder, how was this possible? Scientists hypothesize that the disc could have been part of a ritual or a decorative element, but there are other theories that go beyond the usual. Some researchers believe that the Sabu Disc could have been a copy of a device left by guests from the sky, a highly developed civilization that visited Earth in ancient times. The structure and shape of the artifact resemble modern aerodynamic devices or even elements of complex mechanisms. The Egyptians may have considered this object sacred and tried to reproduce something they saw but did not understand. Some believe that the Sabu Disc is the key to unraveling the interaction of ancient civilizations with extraterrestrial intelligence. For now, these are just guesses, but the mystical aura surrounding this artifact continues to excite minds and invites us to delve into the secrets of the past. Colgante Disc. An object called the Colgante Disc at the Rafael Larco Herrero Archaeological Museum in Lima, Peru's capital, may be evidence that people in ancient times knew what the arms of the galaxy looked like. This artifact, believed to have been created some 2,000 years ago, looks like a spiral galaxy. But here's the catch. The number of arms on this disc does not match the number of arms in our galaxy. Assuming that the disc does indeed represent a galaxy, this calls into question many things we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. However, the Colgante Disc remains a mysterious artifact that raises more questions than it answers.
The mystery of drops discs. In 1938, in a remote area of China in the Bayan Karaula Mountains, archaeologists discovered amazing artifacts, drop discs. These discs, made of granite, have a diameter of about 30 centimeters and a thickness of approximately 1 centimeter. They attracted the attention of scientists with their unusual appearance. Each disc contains a central hole and cut spiral grooves reminiscent of tracks for playing sound. That is, they look like vinyl records and perhaps contain the sounds of ancient people, nature, or even something alien. Most intriguingly, the grooves on the discs contain microscopic characters that resemble hieroglyphs. Researchers say these symbols may be a form of ancient writing encoded in spiral patterns. Translations by some scholars suggest that the discs may tell of an ancient civilization known as the Drapa, which may have had contact with extraterrestrial beings. According to legend, the Dropa tribe arrived on Earth about 12,000 years ago from a distant star. But unfortunately, there are practically no artifacts left from them except these records. The Dropa discs remain one of the most mysterious archaeological finds, raising many questions about possible contacts between ancient people and aliens. Remote View. Project Stargate is a secret program launched by the CIA in the 1970s to study and apply the phenomenon of remote viewing, also known as remote sensing. Remote viewing is the ability of a person to obtain information about distant or inaccessible objects, places, or events without the use of conventional sensory means. Project Stargate was created to explore the use of this ability for intelligence purposes, including the study of UFOs. The project used various methods such as hypnosis, meditation, and other techniques to put participants into altered states of consciousness where they could receive information. These methods have been used to study UFOs and search for signs of extraterrestrial activity. One of the key participants in the project was Pat Price, a former police officer with exceptional abilities in the field of remote viewing. Pat Price made several important discoveries, especially regarding features beneath Mount Ohhigh in Alaska. He claimed to have seen an underground base there controlled by aliens and described detailed structures and technologies that were supposedly located in this base. These claims have generated great interest and controversy among researchers. Several CIA documents contain references to such bases and confirm that Price provided information that was partially corroborated by other intelligence sources. However, no direct and unambiguous evidence of the existence of an alien base has been found, and many aspects of these claims remain controversial. Remote viewing is used for reconnaissance and research of UFOs, providing information about places that cannot be explored using traditional methods. For example, remote viewers can describe the internal structures of spaceships or bases that are inaccessible to physical observation. The death of Pat Price in 1975 under mysterious circumstances adds an element of danger to the work of remote viewers. Price's death has sparked much speculation and conspiracy theories, suggesting that he may have been eliminated due to his knowledge and abilities. Droplets of the ancient ocean. Imagine that 600 million years ago our Earth was covered with ice, like a huge snowball. This is called the snowball Earth hypothesis. But how can we know if it actually happened? The answer is found in the highest mountains in the world, the Himalayas. Scientists from India and Japan have discovered drops of ancient water in the mountains. These drops may be part of the ocean floor that existed when the Earth was covered in ice. Analysis of these droplets shows that for a long time there was no calcium intake to the oceans. This could explain why there is more oxygen in the atmosphere, and perhaps even help us understand how the evolution of complex life forms began. At this time, no river water entered the oceans and there was no calcium. This could lead to the growth of special bacteria which began to release more oxygen into the atmosphere. This discovery is not just an amazing glimpse into the past. This could help us understand the Earth's climate in the future. This is how science works. By studying ancient secrets, we will learn more about what lies ahead of us. Hongshan artifacts. The Hongshan civilization is one of the most mysterious cultures of ancient China, which existed about 7,000 years ago. It left behind unusual jade artifacts that depict humanoids with teardrop-shaped heads and huge eyes. Some of the figurines resemble creatures riding water scooters or even flying machines. These images do not fit into the usual ideas about ancient cultures and make you wonder, who or what were the Hongshan masters trying to capture? The unique Huangshan caves discovered in 1999 also belong to this culture. These man-made caves amaze with their size and complexity. Inside, you can see pools, bridges over rivers, stairs, and passages. The area of the largest cave is 12,600 square meters. But the real mystery is the traces left on the walls. They resemble modern tunneling machines, although technology of this level is not believed to have existed thousands of years ago. In addition, it remains unclear where the gigantic volumes of excavated rock disappeared to. Scientists have not yet found traces of its movement. Some researchers suggest that the caves and jade artifacts are evidence of contact with a more advanced civilization, possibly of extraterrestrial origin. New species of prehistoric man in South Africa. Recently, a fantastic discovery was made, the fossils of an ancient human ancestor, Australopithecus sediba, who lived about 2 million years ago. Thanks to this find, the researchers were able to learn more about this amazing creature. It turns out that our distant ancestor walked the earth like a man, but at the same time he could skillfully climb trees like a monkey. Among the fossils found were the lower bones of the back. Their shape indicates that Australopithecus spent a lot of time on 2 legs, but also used his hands to climb trees. This important discovery helps us better understand how our ancestors lived and moved. The most amazing is that these bones were found in a cave in South Africa and belonged to a female Australopithecus, which scientists have nicknamed Isa. In Swahili, it means protector. Moreover, Australopithecus had 5 lumbar vertebrae.
just like you and me. This find is like a missing link in the chain of human evolution, confirming that Australopithecus was like a bridge between the great apes and us modern humans. Their unique movement combined two types of activity: upright walking and climbing trees.
The mystery of the Urft civilization. In Iran, in the ancient city of Urft, archaeologists discovered unique artifacts. These finds, over 5,000 years old, feature pottery and stone artifacts depicting unusual creatures and symbols. Particular attention is drawn to figures with elongated heads and large eyes which resemble descriptions of alien creatures. The images on the artifacts of the Urft civilization are so unique and different from other known ancient cultures that some researchers have hypothesized about possible contacts with extraterrestrial civilizations. These hypotheses are based on the fact that ancient artists could depict what they saw or heard about. The finds also include complex geometric patterns and symbols that have not yet been deciphered. This only adds to the mystery of this ancient culture. The Urft civilization, thanks to its mysterious artifacts, attracts the attention of not only archaeologists, but also lovers of mysticism and the inexplicable. Chichen Itza and its mysteries. Chichen Itza was of great importance to the Mayan civilization as a political, economic, and religious center. This ancient city, located on the northern Yucatan Peninsula, was an important site for rituals and ceremonies related to the gods and astronomical phenomena. Erich von Daniken, known for his theories about ancient aliens, paid attention to the El Castillo Pyramid, Temple of Kukulkan, in his research. He suggested that the accuracy of the pyramid's architectural and astronomical elements may indicate Mayan contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Daniken noted that pyramids like El Castillo could have been built using technologies unknown to modern scientists. The symbolic meaning of the light shown in the steps of the El Castillo pyramid during the equinoxes is associated with the cultic veneration of the god Kukulkan. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight creates the illusion of a serpent descending the steps of the pyramid. This phenomenon was interpreted as the return of Kukulkan to Earth, confirming the importance of the Mayas' astronomical knowledge and their ability to design architecture in harmony with the movements of celestial bodies. The Mayans believed in the return of the god Kukulkan, a feathered serpent who symbolized rebirth and renewal. This belief was based on ancient myths and texts such as the Popol Vuh and the Mayan codes, which describe the cyclical nature of time and the return of the gods at certain points in history. Kukulkan was an important deity associated with wind, water, and fertility, making his cult especially significant to the agrarian Mayan society. Modern archaeologists interpret these finds as evidence of the high level of development of astronomy and engineering among the Mayans. They believe that the pyramids and other structures of Chichen Itza were built taking into account complex mathematical calculations and observations of the movement of celestial bodies. Sphinx from Mars. The Sphinx from Mars was discovered in 1976 during archaeological excavations in Egypt. This unique figurine, only 10 centimeters high, has amazed scientists with its strange resemblance to the famous Martian Sphinx, depicted in photographs taken by the Viking 1 space probe. The figurine was found in a tomb dated to the 3rd dynasty of the pharaohs, and it was part of an ancient collection of artifacts. It was engraved with symbols and signs that did not look like traditional Egyptian hieroglyphs and which have not yet been deciphered. Many scientists and UFO researchers began to speculate that the figurine could be evidence of contact between the ancient Egyptians and extraterrestrial civilizations. According to some theories, the Sphinx from Mars was a kind of key or device for communicating with cosmic beings. Ancient texts found near the artifact spoke of gods from heaven who supposedly visited Earth in ancient times. There is a version that it was these gods who gave the figurine to the pharaohs. The Sphinx from Mars continues to attract the attention of scientists and paranormal enthusiasts. Some consider it to be irrefutable proof of the existence of extraterrestrial life, while skeptics argue that this is just a coincidence and an interesting archaeological artifact. Ball of yarn. 3 balls of yarn dating back 3,000 years have been found during excavations at an ancient Bronze Age site in England known as Britain's Pompeii. They were discovered in underground houses built in swampy areas. One of the balls was charred, raising questions about how it could have survived the fire without being damaged.
The composition of the yarn has not yet been established due to the fragility of the artifacts. The lack of information about the composition of yarn causes controversy among scientists, especially when it comes to materials such as wool or plant fibers. It is assumed that the balls found could have been made from flax or nettle. All this suggests that the history of knitting and the use of textile materials in ancient times remains poorly understood and full of mysteries. Archaeologists are still trying to determine the purpose of these ancient textiles, many of which may have been lost or damaged in the fire that destroyed the settlement. This makes the task of reconstructing historical context even more difficult. A ship that was not subject to the laws. During Prohibition in the United States, real chaos was happening in the country. However, gangster groups used this time to their advantage. The most famous gangster in the history of Al Capone made a real floating casino restaurant from an ordinary barge in which Prohibition did not apply. Here, everyone could do what they wanted. Alcohol and money flowed like a river. Initially, it was assumed that the Cuca Barge would only be engaged in the transportation of timber, and for some time the barge was used for its intended purpose. From 1889 to 1928, the barge was engaged in the transportation of timber, after which it was turned into a floating dance hall with live music, endless alcohol, and of course gambling. Access to the barge was only for their own, and among his own it was Al Capone himself, his inner circle, and of course local politicians and heads of police stations. In the 30s of the last century, there was more corruption in the United States than alcohol. Al Capone bribed absolutely everyone, and those who did not want to take money went on a forage to fishes. It would seem that such a ship should live forever, and what could happen to it when it is under the control of the most famous gangster and under the supervision of the police? However, in 1931, a drunken customer shot and killed the restaurant manager, and the following year the ship sank for unknown reasons. And just the other day, divers Chris Roxburgh and Lee Rosenberg managed to photograph the Cuca Barge, which rests at the bottom of the lake. For 40 years of transporting timber, the barge had worn out and leaked water, which was pumped out every day. The person who did this work received a salary in the form of whiskey, which at that time was considered an expensive liquid currency. But it seems to me that the hard worker did not have time to bring his salary to the shore and drank it while working. There is an opinion that local believers deliberately flooded the barge. They did not like that at night. Screams were heard on the barge, loud music sounded, and sometimes shots were heard.
Little Holland, underwater. Underwater archaeologists have finally managed to determine what kind of ship rests at a depth of 32 meters near the English coast. Until today, this ship has been listed everywhere as unknown ship sunk off Eastbourne. Now, after many years of research, it was possible to establish that this is Little Holland. This is a Dutch ship of the 17th century which was engaged in the transportation of marble, was built in 1656. In addition to its intended purpose, the ship participated in all major battles of the Second Anglo-Dutch War. The ship was discovered in 2019, and immediately the ship received the status of a super important find and was provided with the highest level of protection. Studying a 17th century ship allows you to look deep into the maritime history of that period. There were treasures on the ship which will be lifted ashore and, after all stages of study, sent to the museum. The history of shipbuilding in England and the Netherlands is very exciting. After all, these countries created the best ships of that era. In addition to some of the treasures on the ship were cannons, Italian marble, and Italian ceramics. Marble had to get to the Netherlands for the construction of prestigious houses. For some, it may not seem like a significant detail to find out the name of the ship, but in fact this is the most important discovery. Thanks to the many historical records about this ship, historians already have all the information. In this way, it becomes much easier to understand who it belonged to, what it was used for, where it was going, and why it ended up at the bottom. The story of the ship is a real historical fact, but what about ancient Greek myths?
Has the first battle with aliens already happened? On August 26, 1946, an American scientific expedition set out for the South Pole. It was led by naval officer and explorer Admiral Richard Byrd, who took part in the First World War. The expedition involved 13 ships, 33 aircraft, and almost 5,000 U.S. Navy soldiers. The group under the command of the Admiral returned only 9 months later, reporting that it had to engage in battle with the remnants of the Third Reich and possibly aliens. Flying objects attacked the expedition members and caused significant damage to the American group. Bird in his report claimed to have seen unidentified devices capable of moving at incredible speeds, changing their location almost instantly. At that time, the Admiral's statements, despite his high status, seemed like fiction. However, in 2018, a satellite image revealed a contrail left by something moving at incredible speeds. The trail stretched across the entire Earth, connecting the South and North Poles, which is about 20,000 kilometers. The maximum duration of preservation of the trace and its shape is 30 minutes, while most of it begins to dissipate after 15 minutes. Based on the data obtained, we can say that the object that left the contrail was moving at a speed of at least 80,000 kilometers per hour, which is 10 times higher than the speed of the fastest aircraft existing at the moment.
Alien skulls. A few years ago, American and European media were filled with sensational stories about the discovery of alien skulls in a cave in Russia. These strange skulls, resembling something clearly non-human, caused a lot of controversy. Many assumed that they could belong to aliens or creatures unknown to science. However, journalists soon declared that the whole story was a hoax and it quickly disappeared from the headlines. These skulls could have been part of an ancient ritual or simply the altered remains of animals whose bones had acquired unusual shapes. But it is interesting to imagine what it must have felt like to discover them for the first time in a dark, cold cave. It is one thing to see them in a photograph, and quite another to hold this mysterious artifact in your hands, causing a feeling of both fear and curiosity. Even though this discovery turned out to be a hoax, it remains an interesting reminder of how myths and facts can intertwine to create amazing stories.
The earliest use of fire for cooking. For the first time, a person learned to make fire about 400,000 years ago. At least it was thought so before. Archaeologists from the Steinhardt Museum of Natural History at Tel Aviv University have made a sensational discovery. They claim to have found evidence of how our ancestors cooked food over a fire some 780,000 years ago. The ability to cook food is actually a big breakthrough in the evolution of our ancestors. After the humanoid beings learned how to heat food, they received an impetus for the development of the brain. It used to take them much longer to chew and digest food. After heat treatment of food, the meat became softer and absorbed by the body much faster, which allowed more time to be spent on building settlements and exploring new territories. They had a large amount of free time that needed to be occupied with something. At this moment, the brain turned on and began to actively invent how to entertain themselves. You might be wondering how archaeologists managed to figure out that the earliest cooking over a campfire was 780,000 years ago. What could they have found that led to such a conclusion? At the archaeological site of Gesher Beno Yaakov in Israel, they found the burnt teeth of a large fish. After analyzing the tooth enamel, they were able to find out that the fish was gradually subjected to heat treatment. Most likely, it could be baked or boiled. Burnt stones were found nearby, indicating that there was a hearth here. It is so interesting to imagine that almost 1 million years ago, our ancestors cooked fish for themselves on stones or in an earth kiln in the same way that we do it now on a grill or barbecue.
Monolith on Phobos. Phobos, one of the 2 moons of Mars, hides an amazing secret, a giant monolith. This monolith, about 85 meters high, was first discovered in images taken by spacecraft. Its size and correct shape raise many questions among scientists. Some researchers suggest that the monolith may be an artificial structure left behind by an ancient alien civilization. This hypothesis is based on its unusual geometry and isolation from other geological forms on the surface of Phobos. The monolith looks like it was deliberately placed in this location. This discovery caused heated discussions in the scientific community and gave rise to many theories. Some believe the monolith may be an ancient beacon or marker left behind for future space explorers. Others see it as possible evidence of alien activity in our solar system. Alien skulls. It all started when the locals were digging canals for irrigation and accidentally stumbled upon these amazing finds. At the site, which was named El Cementerio, the remains of 25 people were found. 17 of them were children from 5 months to 16 years old, and the remaining 30 skulls are so deformed that they simply amaze the imagination. As archaeologist Cristina Garcia Morena explains, this form of skulls is a consequence of an ancient tradition when children's heads were tied together with wooden planks. This was done in order to highlight their social group or status, but the exact reason for this unusual custom is still a mystery.
Indian airplanes. Amazing artifacts known as Indian airplanes have been found in Mexico and South America. These miniature gold figures, dating back hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, are striking in their detail. At first glance, they are toys, but their shape is too reminiscent of modern aircraft such as space shuttles or airplanes. Scientists were especially drawn to the tail rudders, symmetrical notches on the wings, and other elements that would have no practical use in a toy. The question arises, what was the basis for creating these figures? The only plausible explanation is that the craftsmen copied what they saw. Perhaps these artifacts are a reflection of real events when the inhabitants of ancient America observed the flights of mysterious devices. Some researchers associate these finds with theories about ancient astronauts, claiming that aliens, the Anunnaki or representatives of another civilization, visited Earth and left their traces. The mystery of these little planes is enhanced by another fact. Modern engineers have been able to create models based on these artifacts that, with the addition of an engine, are actually capable of flying. Is this a coincidence, an ancient myth, or evidence of technology that came from other planets?
Elongated skulls. The mystery of the elongated skulls of Paracas continues to stir heated debate among scientists and researchers. These elongated skulls, discovered by archaeologist Julio Tello in 1928 on the Paracas Peninsula in Peru, date back approximately 3,000 years. The skulls are unusually shaped, and although similar finds have been found all over the world, from Rome to the Caucasus, the Paracas skulls are particularly surprising. It is believed that the elongated shape of the skulls was the result of deliberate manipulation, such as tying special bands or boards around the heads of infants. This process, known as cranial deformation, was common among many ancient cultures. Even today, it is practiced by some African tribes. However, it remains a mystery what exactly motivated people everywhere to engage in this practice. One popular hypothesis is that people sought to imitate the gods or guests from heaven who, according to legend, had elongated heads. Another version says that such a shape of the skull could enhance the perception of cosmic energy, which allegedly contributed to spiritual or intellectual development. The peculiarity of the Paracas skulls lies not only in their shape, but also in their volume and structure. Research shows that the volume of the skull is larger than that of ordinary people, and the structure of the bones is different. These anomalies give rise to theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the owners of such skulls. The skulls may belong to representatives of another race or hybrid creatures about which we know little yet. Ancient Aqueduct of Augustus. In the previous video, I said that one of the most important achievements of ancient Rome, which we still use today, was plumbing. However, it looked different, so archaeologists find parts of aqueducts in the former territories of ancient Rome. They recently discovered an unknown section of the ancient aqueduct of Augustus in Campania. It facilitated the transfer of drinking water from Crypta Neapolitana to Posillipo Hill and Nisida Island and is in excellent condition. At the moment, it is the longest known section of the Augusta Aqueduct, which has a length of 647 meters. With the help of this aqueduct, experts in antiquity could regulate the pressure of water from simple to extreme. Now, experts will try to dig it out completely and take the soil for analysis to determine how the climate changed during the time of ancient Rome. In fact, the aqueduct is not only practical, water to every house, but also very beautiful and majestic. The practice of aqueducts was later used all over the world. The Roman emperors thus wanted to win over the citizens of the empire. During all this time, more than 350 kilometers of aqueducts were built throughout the Roman Empire, and only a small part of them ended up underground. Viking Age Double Burial. A unique find was made by archaeologists in 1981 near the village of Gedrup, near the city of Roskilde in Denmark. The researchers found not just an unusual but a very strange burial by those standards. A woman and a man lay in the grave, but they were buried in completely different ways. The reconstructed burial is today considered the main attraction of the local museum in Roskilde. The photo shows how huge stones lie on the chest, left arm, and legs of a woman, and next to it lies a heavy tip of a spear 40 centimeters long. It is not always possible to determine the sex from the bones 100%, but in our case, archaeologists are sure. The pelvis of the skeleton is small, but experts are sure that the woman gave birth more than once. It is also clear from the skeleton that the woman is not young. The spear is too large to actually be used in combat, so it was more symbolic. But with stones, the story is more interesting. It is believed that huge stones were placed on a woman out of fear of her. People thought that in this way it would save them from the fact that a woman could wake up after death. There were issues with the man too. It can be seen that his neck was broken and his legs were tied, which means he was hanged. It's more like a criminal, but to put a criminal and a half-warrior woman in one grave, who would need it? There was an assumption that this was a servant of a woman before they did a DNA test of the buried. It turned out to be even more confusing. The woman and the man were relatives, mother and son. It turns out we have found the true cause of fear of this woman. They threw stones at her so that she could not get up from the grave and avenge the death of her son, and the heavy tip of the spear was most likely a witch's stick. You might think that this is complete nonsense, but there is an explanation and coincidence for this in an ancient saga written in the 13th century. The saga tells the story of the sorceress Katla and her son Odd. Odda was a criminal, but no one could injure or kill him, neither with a knife nor with an axe, because he was protected by the witchcraft of his mother. She hid her son at home and turned him into a dog or a pig, but another sorceress appeared who was able to expose them. As a result, the son was hanged right in front of the mother and the mother was stoned. But she managed to curse her killers. The coincidence is very interesting. Were archaeologists really able to find real evidence of the ancient saga? If myths and sagas can be real stories, what about the Golden Boy from Egypt?
The oldest animal sculpture. On the coast of South Africa, 330 kilometers from Cape Town, scientists from Nelson Mandela University discovered the oldest artificial image of an animal created by man. This sculpture of a blue stingray, made from petrified sand, is located near Blombos Cave, famous for rock art dating back to 77,000 and 73,000 years ago. The study showed that the sculpture was created about 130,000 years ago during the Middle Paleolithic period. The special symmetry and engraved patterns indicate that this is the work of man and not a random creation of nature. This find makes it possible to trace the development of art among the ancient ancestors of man, showing the transition from the creation of abstract forms to realistic images of animals.
The bodies of extraterrestrial beings. Theories about the appearance of aliens vary. Some believe that they are similar to humans, but with differences, a different skin color or elements of the genome that resemble reptiles or plants. Such images are often found in literature and cinema. For example, in the movies about the Guardians of the Galaxy, aliens are depicted as furry or tree-like humanoids. The raccoon rocket and the bark-covered Groot became the embodiment of this idea. Other researchers and writers believe that it is pointless to build ideas about alien life based on earthly evolution. Polish writer Stanislaw Lem, in his novel Solaris, created a different approach. His alien intelligence is presented as an ocean capable of interacting with people through their memories, providing a chance to correct the past. This became a philosophical response to anthropocentrism in the depiction of aliens. There are also more sinister versions. Some believe that alien life forms may be parasites that use the human body as a habitat. A similar image was embodied in the film Venom, where an extraterrestrial symbiote used a human as a host. Not long ago, Mexican ufologist Jaime Maussan presented remains that, according to him, belong to ancient aliens. These humanoid-like creatures have three-fingered limbs, missing teeth, and unusual physical features. When X-rayed, rare metals such as cadmium and osmium, which are used today in satellite systems, were found in their bodies. An egg-like formation was found in one of the mummies, which further provoked mystery lovers. However, scientists are skeptical of these claims. Earlier in 2017, Moissan already presented findings that turned out to be the remains of ancient children, not aliens. To confirm or refute the truth of the new claims, serious research will be needed. Until then, this discovery remains a subject of debate between ufologists and the scientific community.
Dangers and mystical deaths. People reporting UFO encounters face several dangers. One of the main threats is social stigma. Witnesses are often ridiculed and not taken seriously, which can negatively impact their personal and professional lives. In addition, there are more serious risks, including psychological pressure, threats, and even physical danger. especially if their evidence involves secret government programs or military installations. There are several examples of mysterious deaths of UFO researchers. For example, James McDonald, a renowned scientist and UFO researcher, allegedly committed suicide in 1971 after a series of mysterious events and threats. Morris Jessup, author of The Case for UFOs, also died under suspicious circumstances in 1959, raising suspicions of possible outside interference. There are programs to protect witnesses and UFO researchers. Some organizations provide legal support and security advice. There are many theories about the connection between the deaths of UFO researchers and their work. Some suggest that governments or secret organizations eliminate people who have dangerous knowledge or reveal classified information. Others believe that these deaths may be the result of psychological pressure and stress associated with the study and disclosure of such data.
Mysterious signs of an ancient culture. We will dive into the secrets of ancient symbols and signs which, like mysterious fragments of ancient codes, help us to better understand our roots. You must have seen the pentagram, a five-pointed star, the symbol of magic and wisdom in the Hermetic tradition, and in Christianity, the five wounds of Christ. But a circle with a dot inside is not just a beautiful sketch, but a symbol of the sun, a sign of life and strength, which is found among the Egyptians and Incas. And the alchemists saw in it gold. The swastika also has ancient roots. Yes, it was a symbol of good luck and prosperity, used in India, China, and Russia. And of course, let's not forget about simple geometric shapes: a square, a triangle, a circle. In Egyptian legends, the square personified the elements of the world. The triangle in Greek mathematics was a symbol of the Trinity, and the Chinese saw infinity and unity in the circle.
Spirit Protection Mirror. In the north of Israel, in the ancient city of Usha, schoolchildren found a unique item that was used to protect against evil spirits. This happened within the framework of the state program's survival course for young leaders. Usha is a place with a rich history. In the 2nd century AD, the Sanhedrin, the main authority of the Jews, even lived there. But our artifact is even older. Scientists have confirmed that this is a fragment of the frame of a small mirror that was popular from the late Roman era until the advent of Islam. But it was not just a mirror, it was an amulet to scare away demons. This mirror hung on the wall of the house like a charm. Maybe our ancestors had their own methods of dealing with evil spirits. At that time, Christianity and Judaism lived side by side with ancient beliefs and magic. Therefore, after a Christian prayer, a Jew could go to a fortune teller, decorate the house with amulets and mirrors, as they say, just in case. So the next time you hang a mirror on your wall, think about how your ancient ancestors did it thousands of years ago. Perhaps you not only decorate your home, but also scare away ancient evil spirits. The Cave Devil. This sinister face, known as the Cave Devil, stares out at visitors from the wall of one of the famous Devil's Caves in West Wickham, southeast Britain. The caves were hand-carved in the 18th century, and their history is closely linked to the Hellfire Club, a society founded by the eccentric aristocrat Sir Francis Dashwood. The club included members of the elite of the time who gathered here to perform mysterious rituals and, according to rumors, even black masses. After Dashwood's death, the club ceased to exist and the caves were abandoned. However, since the mid-20th century, they have been turned into a tourist attraction, attracting the curious and adventure seekers. Among the twisting passages and dark halls, tourists often encounter this carved image, suddenly emerging from the cave's darkness, which often causes them real horror. While the true purpose of this devilish mask remains unknown, it fuels legends about the dark secrets of the Hellfire Club. Burning UFO over Canada. 2018 Quebec. While on a walk and enjoying their vacation, the family noticed a strange object in the sky and decided to film it. An inexplicably shaped object was slowly rotating, glowing with green and bright red lights. Casual spectators were amazed, realizing that they had witnessed something truly strange and unusual. At first glance, it might seem that this is a spaceship burning fuel while gaining altitude. Canada is one of the few countries that officially records UFO data. As they collect data, they publish surprising findings and images, causing skeptics to doubt that humanity is the only superior race in the universe. The object caught in the video has no visible means of movement and exhibits anti-gravity properties, hovering in the air for some time. The absence of wings and exhaust gases proves that this is not an aircraft. Some skeptics tried to justify this with natural phenomena as an optical illusion, but on this day the weather was beautiful and it was clearly noticeable that this object was three-dimensional. A close guess suggests that the object was a hot air balloon with a mirror surface, but is this true? Perhaps we are simply denying the obvious, afraid to admit that aliens exist and they are already among us?
Secrets of the Codex Gigas. The Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible, is an ancient manuscript that holds many mysteries. Created in the 13th century, it amazes with its size and content. Inside the book, you can find not only the texts of the Old and New Testaments, but also an image of the devil himself, which takes up an entire page. Most intriguing, however, are the astronomical maps, which appear unusually detailed for their time. This has given rise to many theories about the possible extraterrestrial origin of the knowledge used to create the codex. Some researchers believe that the manuscript may contain encrypted messages or knowledge transmitted by alien civilizations. Legend has it that the Codex Gigas was written by a monk in one night with the help of the devil. What does this mysterious manuscript hide? And is it possible that its pages contain encrypted keys to ancient knowledge that came from outer space? The Codex Gigas remains one of the most mysterious artifacts of antiquity, which we will definitely study someday.
Faces on Mars. An amazing trip to the Red Planet. Mars awaits us. In 1976, the Viking 1 probe circling Mars took a picture of a pile of rocks that look a lot like a human face. NASA has labeled it an enormous rock formation that resembles a human head. At that time, some people thought that this face was the remnant of an alien civilization, and the neighboring stones were the ruins of their city. Of course, NASA scientists quickly concluded that the face was just a play of light and shadow, but the idea has spread through culture, appearing in books, movies, and TV shows. The face on Mars is located in a region known as the Cydonia region, between the planet's southern highlands and the smoother northern plains. Some scientists think that this area was once close to the vast Martian Ocean when the planet had enough atmosphere to keep water on the surface. Later, in 1998, NASA's Mars Global Surveyor probe took more detailed pictures of the face. All subsequent high-quality images confirmed the initial analysis. The assumption of a face is an optical illusion due to a specific angle of incidence of light on the surface of the rocks. The illusion rock itself, about a mile across, resembles the cliffs or mesas of the western United States and is likely formed from a combination of landslides and accumulated debris. And while the face on Mars is one of the most popular sites, it's far from the only group of rocks resembling terrestrial features. Viking captured several other fascinating images, including Gal Crater in the southern highlands, which is shaped like a smiling face. Such structures, of course, do not indicate the presence of alien life. On Earth, too, formations can be found, such as New Hampshire's Old Man of the Mountain, which create aesthetically pleasing images without alien interference. On the other hand, right now in the United States, they are declaring that they have real evidence of alien life. And at the moment, they confirm their words with an oath on the Bible, promising to show alien transport and biomaterial.
Magic protection of the Golden Boy. It seems to us that any find from ancient Egypt will immediately get to the scientists who study it, but this is not always the case. Our story began back in 1916 when archaeologists found a mummified golden boy in an ancient cemetery in the town of Nag el-Kasai in southern Egypt. The mummy was taken to the basement of the Egyptian Museum, and all this time no one touched it. And just the other day, they decided to scan the boy. Why this was not done before is not clear. Perhaps it was simply not noticed. Although it is very difficult not to notice the mummy of a child completely covered in gold and jewelry. The very fact of such decoration tells us that the boy was not a mere mortal. To protect the mummy from destruction, scientists used computed tomography. So they managed to find out that the boy had magical protection. In the fabrics with which the boy was wrapped, scientists examined 49 amulets of various types. According to historians, these amulets not only helped to save the deceased in the afterlife, but also had the properties to resurrect the boy from the dead. These were amulets made in the form of the Eye of Horus, scarabs, the Knot of Isis. There was also an amulet Akhet in the form of the rising sun. Many of them are made of gold, and some of them are made of semi-precious stones, baked clay, or faience. In addition to the amulets, there was another peculiarity. The boy was buried in 2 coffins at once. There were Greek inscriptions on the outer sarcophagus. The boy was mummified according to the customs of that time. The internal organs were removed, and instead of the brain, there was resin. A golden mask was also seen on him. He was shod in white sandals and decorated with a fern garland, which was of great ritual significance. According to the Book of the Dead, the white sandals were meant for the boy to get out of the coffin. From the mysterious golden mummy of a teenager, let's move on to strange exhibits in museums. Magic amulet in Egypt. And again, we will go to ancient Egypt. Archaeologists have unearthed 20 ancient tombs in the city of New Damietta. In one of the burials, archaeologists found gold items, a statue of the cat goddess, and magical amulets. The burials were dated to 688 BC, which is approximately the 26th dynasty. The shape and material of the tombs differed in composition from raw bricks to simple pits. The tombs contained artifacts made of gold foil. The foil was rolled in the shape of ancient Egyptian gods such as Isis, who was one of the most important deities. There were also golden figures of the cat goddess and the god Horus with the head of a falcon. Ancient texts say that the Egyptian gods had flesh of gold. Such amulets provided protection from the depicted gods and also helped the deceased to find himself in the world of the gods. In addition to golden amulets and statuettes, there were many pottery in the tombs. Also, miniature models of canopic vessels were found in the tombs, which were used to preserve the insides of the deceased during the mummification process. So far, archaeologists cannot give an exact answer to whom the tombs belonged, but the number of valuable artifacts found here is simply amazing. Lolodov plate. The Lolodov plate is a stone dish that is about 12,000 years old. It depicts a disc resembling a UFO and a creature very similar to the modern idea of aliens. You can also consider a spiral galaxy. According to scholar David Gaiman, the disc was purchased from the city of Mussoorie in North India and belonged to the strange Zopas people, who used such discs during religious ceremonies. However, he later admitted that he made this whole story up, including the creation of a sketch of the plate, which his friend then translated into black and white. Amazing artifacts constantly remind us that we still don't know much about the place where we live. But we know for sure that earthly riddles will sooner or later be solved. And while the secrets are not revealed and the inhabitants of other worlds are not discovered, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Watch this video as well about the findings frightening scientists around the world. See you on Kurtop. Thanks for your views. Bye everyone.